Today, Chavdalu Teves, is the day of the Estalkus, the passing of the Alter Rebbe, of who our website is dedicated in the memory and in the honor of. And it is his teachings both in Teres Hanigla and Teres Achsidus and in Halacha that we endeavor to publicize and reveal to the public. May the merit of the Alter Rebbe stand on all of our listeners' favor for goodness and blessing. We're going to discuss today the background behind the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch and its greatness and importance that it took within the bookshelf of the other Sfarim of the codes of Jewish law. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch has a number of names. It's also called Shulchan Aruch Admor Hazakin, and it's also called Shulchan Aruch Harav. The initiation to write the Shulchan Aruch first began by the Maggid of Mezich near the years 1770, in which the Alter Rebbe was in his first years by Mezich, by the Maggid. And as it states in the introduction to the Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe, that the Maggid himself was encouraged by the heavenly courts to search among his students for a proper candidate to compile a new Shulchan Aruch. And the Maggid chose the Alter Rebbe to write this compilation. At that time there became a great need for a new code of laws to be written. And there were other Gdei Yisrael that wanted to merit the schus of writing a new Shulchan Aruch. As it states in the introduction of the Bir Hagra, the Vilna Gaon, that he had wished to write a Shulchan Aruch with halacha l'maaseh. But as his children write there, that he says that the Vilna Gaon himself stated at the end of his life, Lo yistayeh milsa, I did not have heavenly approval to do so. However, the Maggid, the Chassidim, received the permission to write the Shulchan Aruch, and this permission was granted to the Alter Rebbe, who was appointed with the great task of sifting and refining through the different halachic opinions and recording final rulings in the new code of laws. The Shulchan Aruch was written in a span of 2 years. We don't know exactly when. It's anywhere between 1765 and 1775. The Rebbe Rayatz writes that the Alter Rebbe began writing the Shulchan Aruch when he was only 21 years old. Although the Shulchan Aruch was written in the 1770s, it was not printed until after the Alter Rebbe passed away, after the Estalkus in 1816. And it's for this reason that there's many sections and chapters missing from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, as many of them were lost and burnt throughout the years, being that they were never brought to print at the time that they were available. The name Shulchan Aruch Harav. The name Shulchan Aruch Harav is a title that was given to the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch based on the following story. The Maggid once requested from his student Rebbe Zushavani Poili to write to our Gaon of Zalman of the Litvak to come to him. When the students heard that the Maggid referred to the Alter Rebbe as our Gaon, so they began giving him the title of Rav. When the Avram HaMalach, the son of a Maggid, related to his father the Maggid that the students began calling the Alter Rebbe Rav, the Maggid replied, the Chevraya Kaddish have projected the truth in this statement. A name has meaning and the halacha is like Rav. The Shulchan Aruch of the Rav will be accepted within all of Jewry. And from there came the name Shulchan Aruch Harav. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is quoted in all the major codifying works that were written in the later generations and is a great fundament of ruling throughout all the great Poskim since his time. The Mishnah Berurah quotes him very often as the Graz. The Kaf HaChaim quotes him very often as Rabbeinu Zalman, as does the Ben Ish Chai, the Aruch HaShulchan, and all in all, the Alter Rebbe's rulings have infiltrated every single major halachic work written since his times. What was the purpose of the Alter Rebbe's compilation? What was its necessity? What was wrong with the original Shulchan Aruch of the Mechaber written only 250 years earlier? So it served a dual purpose. Number one, arbitrate all the disputes that were created since the times of the Mechaber. Since the Mechaber wrote the Shulchan Aruch, many opinions in the greatest of Achreinim came about, the Shach, the Taz, the Magen Avraham, and many other names. And once again, people didn't know how to follow. So Alter Rebbe was given the task of sifting through the opinions and ruling practically like one opinion, so every Jew should know what to do. So that was the first job. And that job was a very tedious job. And it says that one of the 10 sufferings Alter Rebbe suffered in this world was making those decisions of arbitrating the rulings in the Shulchan Aruch. A second purpose of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch was to record the reasons of the rulings. Until that time, there was never a psak given regarding which reason behind the halacha is the correct reason. And obviously this would affect anyone who wants to learn out to a different case. How can he learn out if he doesn't know what the halachic reason is? So another advantage of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is that he compiled the reasons behind the halachas. In other words, called halachas bitameim. Although, as we stated before, the Alter Rebbe's rulings have infiltrated and penetrated all the poskim afterwards, for Chassidic Chabad and for Chassidim in general, we accept Alter Rebbe's rulings as final, and from our perspective, when the Alter Rebbe rules a certain way, that's the final halacha, even if there are many other Achreinim before or after that may argue and dissent his opinion. The Alter Rebbe isn't just another opinion within the list of opinions in halacha, but is the final code of law that we follow. So is recorded in the introduction of the Ktseis HaShulchan of Avim Chaim No, as well as the Divrei Nehemiah and Tshuva in Yeredeya Chelik Aleph. The Maggid stated that the 4 cubits of halacha are dependent on the Alter Rebbe, and that even the first thought of the Alter Rebbe in a given topic is a glimmer of Ruach HaKodesh. Elsewhere, the Maggid writes that the rulings and arbitrations of the Alter Rebbe are considered as if they were given on Har Sinai. It's recorded in the Ksav Yad that Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchev stated, I testify heaven and earth that if the Alter Rebbe were alive in the times of the Rif and the Rambam, he would be considered like one of their contemporaries, etc. His words of gold is literally like the words of the Rif and Rambam, blessed memory. And so it was that in all generations, the Chassidim honored and respected the Alter Rebbe's rulings as final, as specifically he was given the position of arbitrating the new Shulchan Aruch from the heavenly courts.